Now, friend, listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you is not just a speech, not just a collection of thoughts, but a living message meant to move through you like a spark through dry wood. Let me tell you something. Every day you wake up, you are offered a quiet invitation from life itself. It whispers, sometimes gently, sometimes urgently. Grow a little more. Understand a little deeper. Stretch your mind just 1 inch further than yesterday. And that invitation, my friend, is what turns an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. It is the invitation to educate yourself every single day. Now, I don't mean education in the narrow sense, the idea that you sit in a classroom with a pencil in your hand and a textbook on your desk. No. I'm talking about the kind of education that keeps your inner world awake. I'm talking about learning that continues long after the diplomas fade, long after the applause dies down, long after people expect you to be done growing. This kind of education is the fuel that keeps your soul alive. It is the food of the mind, the sharpening of the spirit, the widening of your vision. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The water stretches as far as your eyes can see. That ocean, my friend, is human knowledge. Even if you spend your whole life learning, truly learning, you will touch only a fraction of it. But that fraction, even that tiny handful of water you scoop up in your palms, can change your life if you treat it like treasure. And this is the beauty of it. You don't need the whole ocean. You just need to keep dipping your hands in, day after day, moment after moment, until learning becomes the rhythm of your existence. Listen carefully to this next part, because it's something we often forget. Growth is not automatic. You don't grow just because time passes. You grow because courage passes through you, because curiosity pulls you forward, because determination keeps your feet moving. You grow because you choose to feed your mind instead of letting it starve, and every day gives you that choice again. There will be mornings when learning feels difficult, when your mind feels heavy, or your spirit feels tired. On those days, remember this: education does not always arrive dressed in brilliance. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in a single sentence from a book, a moment of reflection, a conversation with someone who sees the world differently than you. Sometimes education is hidden in mistakes, hidden in failure, hidden in the uncomfortable truth that challenges who you think you are. Let me tell you something important, something that might surprise you. Real education is not about becoming more impressive to others. It is about becoming more aware of yourself. When you learn, truly learn, you begin to understand your own thoughts, your own biases, your own fears. You start noticing how your emotions work, how your decisions form, how your dreams take shape. And once you understand yourself, my friend, the world begins to make a little more sense. There is a reason great thinkers, great leaders, great creators speak so passionately about learning. They understood that education is not a phase, it is a lifelong companionship. It is a quiet friend walking beside you, guiding you, challenging you, reminding you that you are more than you believe, more than you fear, more than the world sometimes convinces you to be. Let your curiosity be the torch that lights your path. Let your hunger for understanding be the engine that pushes you forward. And when you find something difficult to understand, don't walk away from it. Step closer. Difficult things are often the gateways to breakthroughs. Even the word complex simply means something with many parts. And once you take the time to look at those parts one by one, the complexity becomes clarity. My friend, Listen carefully now. There is a beautiful secret hidden in the act of learning. Every time you educate yourself, you become slightly different than you were before. You become wiser, more aware, more capable. Small shifts, repeated day after day, become transformations. And transformation, even when slow, is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Think of a seed buried in soil. For days, nothing seems to happen. The outside world sees stillness, darkness, silence. But inside that tiny shell, change is happening. Cell by cell, bit by bit, life is preparing its climb. And when the moment comes, the seed breaks open. It pierces through the soil and reaches for the sun. That is what daily learning does to you. It breaks you open in the best way. It teaches you how to rise. Learning every day also gives you something priceless: resilience. Resilience means the strength to recover, the ability to bend without breaking. And education, true education, builds that strength because it gives you perspective. When you understand the world, you fear it less. When you understand yourself, you doubt yourself less. When you understand ideas, you navigate challenges with more calm, more confidence, more creativity. Let me tell you something that might warm your heart. You do not need to force yourself to take giant leaps. Daily education is not a race. It is a gentle discipline, a steady climb. Even 10 minutes of learning a day can reshape the landscape of your mind over months and years. What matters is consistency, commitment, intention. And let me share another truth, one that every wise person eventually discovers. The more you learn, the more humble you become. Because learning reveals the vastness of what you do not know. This humility is not weakness, it is strength. It reminds you that there is always room to grow, always room to improve, always room to become wiser, kinder, stronger. You see, my friend, when you educate yourself every day, you're not just feeding your mind, you are training your spirit. You are strengthening the muscles of patience, discipline, curiosity, and perseverance. You are shaping the kind of person who does not collapse at the first sign of difficulty. Instead, you become the kind of person who says, "I may not know how yet, but I will learn. I will understand. I will grow." And that mindset, that attitude, is unstoppable. My friend, let me pick up the thread exactly where the energy left off, because the journey of this message is far from over. Listen carefully now, because the next stretch of this path goes deeper into the heart of what it means to grow with intention. When you choose to educate yourself every day, you are not only adding knowledge to your mind, you are building a relationship with your future. You are shaping the person you are becoming long before the world sees it. Think of this as planting invisible seeds within yourself. No one else sees them at first. No one applauds. No one notices the quiet work happening inside you. But you notice. And with each piece of wisdom, each lesson, each small discovery, those seeds begin to move, to shift, to prepare for the moment when they will sprout into something real and undeniable. Let me tell you something, my friend. Most people wait for life to bring them the lessons they need. They wait for experience to teach them. They wait for challenges to wake them up. But you, by deciding to learn every day, you refuse to live passively. You choose to meet life halfway. You decide to prepare your mind for the storms before they arrive. And this gives you an advantage that many people never experience. Daily education becomes a shield and a compass at the same time. It protects you from confusion, and it guides you toward clarity. You see, when you educate yourself, you begin to understand the patterns around you. You start noticing how people think, how situations unfold, how opportunities appear. You start recognizing which paths lead to growth and which ones lead to regret. And this kind of awareness, this mental sharpness, is priceless. It allows you to make decisions with confidence rather than fear. It helps you act with purpose rather than hesitation. But my friend, listen closely to this next part. Learning every day is not always glamorous. It doesn't always feel exciting or dramatic. Sometimes it feels quiet. Sometimes it feels ordinary. Sometimes the progress is so subtle that you barely notice it. But those quiet moments are not wasted. They are the foundation of mastery. Every great thinker, every wise teacher, every remarkable human being you admire built their greatness one small moment of learning at a time. There is a story I want to share with you. A simple one, but powerful. A teacher once told a student, "If you improve by just 1% every day, you will be unrecognizable in a year." The student thought it was too simple, too small to matter. But the teacher smiled and said, "Small improvements are like drops of water. One drop means nothing, but thousands of drops carve valleys." And that, my friend, is exactly how daily education works. Every sentence you read, every idea you explore, every question you ask, every mistake you analyze, each one is a drop of water shaping the landscape of your future. And let me tell you something beautiful. Learning every day also teaches you how to fall in love with your own growth. It makes you curious about who you can become. It makes you excited to wake up each morning because you know the day holds new knowledge, new clarity, new strength. Imagine going through life with that kind of eagerness, that kind of optimism. That is the gift of consistent learning. But I want you to understand something deeper, my friend. Education is not just about accumulating information. It is about transformation. The word transform simply means to change shape, to become something stronger, wiser, more aware than you were before. And every lesson you embrace, no matter how small, shapes you in ways you cannot always see immediately. For example, when you study patience, even through a simple situation like waiting in a long line, you are shaping your emotional strength. When you read a book that challenges your beliefs, you are shaping your critical thinking. When you watch someone who is different from you and try to understand their perspective, you are shaping your empathy. These are forms of education just as valuable, sometimes even more valuable, than traditional knowledge. My friend, listen carefully. The world is changing quickly. Technology evolves, jobs evolve, cultures evolve, the expectations of life evolve. And if you do not keep learning, if you do not keep educating yourself, life will feel like a moving train speeding away from you while you stand still. But when you learn every day, even a little, you stay in motion. You stay prepared. You stay aware. You stay ready for the future instead of intimidated by it. And let me tell you something powerful. The moment you commit to daily learning, you become responsible for your own growth. You no longer wait for someone else to motivate you, to guide you, to teach you. You take ownership of your mind. You become your own teacher, your own coach, your own guide. And that kind of self-responsibility is one of the strongest forms of freedom. I want you to feel that sense of freedom in your chest, my friend. The freedom of knowing that you can shape your life with intention. The freedom of knowing that your future is not built by chance. It is built by learning. The freedom of realizing that your mind is not a container, but a living flame, and every piece of knowledge makes it burn brighter. Education also teaches you how to navigate your emotions. When you learn about yourself, your habits, your fears, your reactions, you begin to gain control over them. You learn how to respond instead of react. You learn how to breathe through moments of pressure. You learn how to remain calm when things get difficult. And this emotional intelligence, this inner clarity, becomes one of your greatest strengths. Let me tell you something, my friend. Some people think education ends when school ends. But those people live in a small world, limited by their refusal to grow. You, however, you are choosing a bigger world, a wider world, a deeper world. You are choosing to become someone whose mind expands year after year, whose wisdom grows richer with time, whose life becomes meaningful because you keep seeking understanding. And there will come a day, a quiet day, a gentle day, when you look back and say, I'm glad I never stopped learning. Because you will see how far you have come, how much you have changed, how strong and capable and wise you have become. And that realization, my friend, will be one of the most fulfilling moments of your life. My friend, let us continue this journey together, because the path of understanding grows clearer the longer we walk it with intention. Listen carefully now, because what comes next reaches into the deeper layers of why educating yourself every day is not only powerful, it is necessary for a meaningful life. You see, every human being is born with potential, but potential is like a seed that remains hidden unless something nurtures it, feeds it, challenges it to grow. And education, daily, intentional education, is that nourishment. It is the sunlight that awakens what lies inside you. It is the water that keeps your spirit alive. It is the gentle pressure that helps your character strengthen and unfold. Let me tell you something, my friend. You're not meant to live your life on repeat. You're not meant to recycle the same thoughts, the same fears, the same mistakes, the same routines, year after year. You are meant to evolve. You are meant to rise. You are meant to become wiser than your past and braver than your doubts. And the simplest, most reliable way to do that is to keep learning. When you educate yourself every day, even in small ways, you break the cycle of stagnation. You refuse to be the same version of yourself tomorrow that you were yesterday. You give your life motion. And motion, my friend, is life itself. Many people believe that knowledge is something to show off, a decoration for their ego, a way to feel superior. But that is not true education. Real education humbles you. It softens your edges. It expands your compassion. It opens your heart and sharpens your mind at the same time. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you still don't know. And strangely, this realization doesn't make you feel small. It makes you feel alive, curious, open, connected. Listen carefully to this. Education connects you to the world. When you learn about people, you understand them better. When you learn about history, you appreciate your present. When you learn about science, you see the universe with new wonder. When you learn about philosophy, you explore the shape of the human mind and the meaning of existence. And when you learn about yourself, your habits, your thoughts, your strengths, you begin to live with clarity instead of confusion. And clarity, my friend, is a treasure. Clarity helps you make decisions without drowning in doubt. Clarity helps you let go of what no longer serves you. Clarity helps you recognize opportunities that others overlook. And clarity helps you trust your path, even when the road becomes hard. Let me tell you a story, a quiet one, but filled with truth. There was once a young person who felt lost, overwhelmed by life, unsure of what path to take. Every day felt heavy, and the future looked like a blank, confusing space. One day, a wise mentor told them, "You do not need to see the entire path. Just learn something today, one thing, anything. And tomorrow, learn again." The young person followed the advice, not expecting much. They read a few pages, listened to an inspiring voice, studied a small idea, and then they repeated it the next day, and the next, and the next. Weeks passed, months passed, and slowly the fog in their mind began to lift. The confusion started to fade. Their confidence returned. Why? Because daily learning lit a lantern that grew brighter every day, guiding them forward. That lantern, my friend, is available to you too. And let me tell you something else. When you educate yourself every day, you begin to build momentum. Momentum means the power to keep moving once you've already started. It means your small daily effort becomes a force that carries you forward with less resistance. At first, learning may feel like climbing a hill, but soon it becomes like running downhill with the wind behind you. Your mind becomes eager, your curiosity grows stronger, your hunger for knowledge becomes natural. And when you reach that stage, learning stops feeling like an obligation. It becomes a joy. You try to speak, but your mind freezes. You know the words, you've studied for years, but when the time comes to talk, you can't think in English. But it's important to understand this. The world will not always encourage you to learn. Distractions will call your name. Laziness will whisper excuses. Comfort will tempt you to stay still. That is why educating yourself daily requires discipline. And discipline, my friend, is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. It is the decision to honor your future more than your comfort. It is the choice to do what will make you proud tomorrow instead of what feels easy today. Let me explain something in simple words. Discipline means repeating a good action even when you don't feel like it. And when that action is learning, the reward is enormous. Every day you learn, you earn a small piece of wisdom. And those small pieces become the architecture of your future. My friend, listen carefully now. There will be days when life challenges you, days when stress fills your mind, days when nothing seems to go right. On those days, learning can become your anchor. An anchor is something that keeps you steady during storms. A single page of wisdom, a short moment of clarity, a small lesson can support you more than you realize. Sometimes the simple act of learning reminds you who you are and who you want to become. It reconnects you with your purpose. Education also strengthens your imagination. And imagination, my friend, is not child's play. It is one of the most powerful tools you possess. Everything you see in the world, buildings, inventions, music, solutions, ideas, began as imagination. When you learn every day, your imagination becomes sharper, more vibrant, more capable of creating possibilities. Let me tell you something beautiful. Your mind is not a container to be filled. It is a fire to be lit. And education is the spark. Once the fire is burning, you begin to think differently, dream differently, live differently. You begin to see hope where others see obstacles. You begin to see solutions where others see problems. You begin to see opportunity where others see limitation. And that shift in vision, my friend, can change your entire life. You are capable of amazing things, but capability without education is like having wings without learning how to fly. Daily learning teaches you how to use your wings. It teaches you how to navigate the winds of life. It teaches you how to rise above the storms instead of being trapped beneath them. And let me tell you one final truth for this section. When you educate yourself every day, You inspire others without even trying. People will see your growth, your confidence, your clarity, your wisdom. They will feel your energy. They will notice your strength. And your example will give them hope. You will become a light in their world simply by keeping your own flame alive. My friend, let us continue this journey with the same fire, the same steady rhythm of understanding and inspiration. Listen carefully now, because the next stretch of this path reaches even deeper into the soul of what it means to grow every single day through the power of learning. You see, educating yourself daily is not just about becoming smarter. It's about becoming more alive. It's about waking up your senses to the richness of the world, awakening your mind to the layers of meaning hidden in every moment, and awakening your heart to the possibilities waiting just beyond your current understanding. Daily learning keeps your inner world awake, vibrant, and expanding. Let me tell you something important, my friend. We often underestimate how much we are shaped by what we repeatedly do. Every thought you entertain, every idea you revisit, every habit you practice, these things are slowly sculpting the person you become. If you fill your days with distraction, you become scattered. If you fill them with negativity, you become heavy. But if you fill your days with learning, true, meaningful learning, you become someone whose mind is bright, whose heart is open, whose spirit is unshakable. Daily learning is a form of self-crafting, a quiet act of becoming, and you don't need grand gestures to make this transformation happen. Listen carefully. Education thrives on consistency more than intensity. A single day of reading for hours cannot do what 10 minutes of daily learning can do over months. Why? Because the mind grows through repetition and reflection. When you expose your mind to new ideas regularly, you build mental pathways, almost like trails in a forest. The more you walk those trails, the clearer they become. And soon, navigating through your thoughts becomes easier, smoother, more natural. My friend, this is why educating yourself every day creates wisdom. Not just knowledge, wisdom. And wisdom is knowledge that has settled deeply into your understanding. It is knowledge that guides your choices, shapes your perspective, and strengthens your character. Wisdom is the ability to see beyond the surface of things, to understand what truly matters, to respond with clarity instead of confusion. And wisdom, my friend, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. But let me tell you something that may surprise you. Learning is not always comfortable. Sometimes it challenges your beliefs. Sometimes it challenges your ego. Sometimes it forces you to confront truths about yourself or the world that you didn't want to see. But these moments, these uncomfortable moments, are the birthplace of transformation. Growth often begins at the edge of discomfort, and the more you educate yourself, the more willing you become to explore that edge. Think of a butterfly, my friend. Before it spreads its wings, it must struggle inside the cocoon. That struggle strengthens it. Without it, the butterfly would never fly. In the same way, the mental and emotional stretching that happens when you learn something challenging gives you the strength to rise above the limits you once accepted. Daily learning also protects you from stagnation. Stagnation means standing still so long that your spirit begins to fall asleep. And when the spirit sleeps, dreams fade, curiosity shrinks, passion dims. But when you learn every day, you keep your inner world in motion. Motion creates life. Motion creates energy. Motion creates purpose. Even on difficult days, even on days when you feel tired or discouraged, the smallest act of learning keeps your spirit awake. Let me tell you something powerful. Learning is a form of hope. When you learn, you are telling yourself, there is more for me. I am not done growing. My future is bigger than my past. And this hope, this quiet belief in your ability to become better, can carry you through the darkest moments of life. Listen carefully to this next part, my friend. The world you experience is shaped by the mind you bring to it. If your mind is limited, the world feels limited. If your mind is fearful, the world feels dangerous. If your mind is closed, the world feels small. But if your mind is learning, opening, expanding, sharpening, then the world becomes rich with possibility. Daily education changes not just what you know, but how you see. And how you see determines how you live. Let me share a simple truth with you. When you educate yourself every day, you begin to notice connections that others miss. You recognize patterns in conversations, opportunities in challenges, lessons in mistakes. You begin to think faster, deeper, more clearly. This is not magic. It is the natural result of feeding your mind consistently. Education also strengthens your voice. The more you learn, the more confidently you can express your ideas, articulate your thoughts, and stand up for what you believe. Your words gain weight because they come from understanding. And people feel that. People trust that. People listen to that. My friend, listen carefully. One day, you will face a moment where knowledge becomes your strength. A moment when understanding changes the outcome of your life. It might be in a decision you have to make. It might be in a challenge you must face. It might be in a dream you want to pursue. And in that moment, the learning you have gathered day by day will rise within you like a reservoir of strength. That is the power of educating yourself every day. It prepares you for moments you cannot predict. Let me tell you another beautiful truth. Learning makes life richer. When you understand music, you hear it more deeply. When you understand nature, you see it more vividly. When you understand people, you connect more honestly. When you understand yourself, you live more freely. Education expands the beauty of life by expanding the lens through which you experience it. And let me speak to your heart for a moment, my friend. There will be times when you feel stuck, times when progress seems slow, times when the road ahead feels unclear. In those moments, learning becomes a lifeline. A single idea, a single insight, a single shift in perspective can change everything. Sometimes one sentence from a book, one moment of clarity from a video, one conversation with a wise person becomes the spark that reignites your fire. This is why daily education matters. You never know which moment of learning will become the turning point of your life. But the more you learn, the more likely you are to find those turning points. And let me tell you something gently, my friend. You deserve growth. You deserve clarity. You deserve knowledge that empowers you. You deserve the confidence that comes from understanding. You deserve the peace that comes from wisdom. Educating yourself every day is not a burden. It is an act of self-love. It is the decision to invest in your future, to honor your potential, to respect your dreams. As you learn, you also strengthen your discipline. You build a routine. You create a rhythm. You turn learning into a habit so natural that it becomes part of your identity. And once learning becomes part of who you are, your life begins to rise in ways that feel almost effortless. And remember this, my friend. Every great mind began as a curious mind. Every wise person began as a learner. Every strong character began with humble questions. You are walking a timeless path, one walked by thinkers, leaders, dreamers, creators, and everyday people who decided that their minds were worth nurturing. Let me leave you with this for now. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. You just have to take one step every day. One idea, one lesson, one insight, one moment of understanding. Do this consistently, and your future will open before you like a sunrise. My friend, let us continue with the same strength, the same emotion, the same rising rhythm that has carried us this far. Listen carefully now, because we are entering the final movement of this long, powerful journey. And I want every word to land inside you with purpose. Educating yourself every day is not just an action. It is a way of living. It is a mindset, a philosophy, a quiet promise you make to yourself. And when you live by this promise, something extraordinary begins to happen inside you. You begin to feel a shift, not sudden, not loud, but steady, deep, undeniable. A shift that whispers, I am not the same person I was yesterday. And my friend, that is the sound of evolution. Let me tell you something from the depths of experience. Life will test you. Life will stretch you. Life will surprise you in both beautiful and painful ways. And when those moments come, the strength you have built through daily learning becomes your anchor. Think of an anchor not as something that holds you back, but as something that keeps you steady in a storm. When your mind is trained, when your understanding is deep, When your wisdom is active, you don't collapse under pressure. You don't lose yourself in chaos. You don't fall apart at the first sign of difficulty. Instead, you stand firm. You breathe. You analyze. You adapt. You respond with clarity instead of panic. And this ability, this grounded strength, comes from the education you have given yourself day after day. My friend, listen carefully. Educating yourself every day also opens the door to opportunity. Opportunities are often hidden, quiet, disguised as challenges or responsibilities. To someone who isn't learning, they look like problems. But to someone who educates themselves every day, those same moments look like chances. Chances to grow, to rise, to create, to shine. When your mind is sharp, you see what others miss. You notice possibilities that others overlook. You hear opportunities in conversations, in setbacks, in unexpected places. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine two people standing in front of the same situation. Let's say a difficult task at work, or a complex idea in life. One person feels overwhelmed, stuck, intimidated. The other person feels curious, motivated, confident. What's the difference? It's not intelligence, it's not talent, it's the habit of learning. The person who educates themselves every day has trained their mind to explore rather than retreat, to analyze rather than avoid, to understand rather than fear. And this difference, my friend, becomes life-changing. But listen closely. Daily education not only sharpens your mind, it shapes your identity. Identity simply means the story you believe about who you are. And when you educate yourself every day, the story you tell yourself begins to transform. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is not good enough, or not smart enough, or not capable enough. Instead, you begin to see yourself as a learner, someone who grows, improves, adapts, and evolves. And that identity is powerful. When you see yourself as a learner, challenges lose their power to intimidate you, because a learner doesn't need to know everything. They only need the willingness to learn anything. My friend, let me tell you something profoundly hopeful. You do not need to have all the answers to move forward in life. You only need the courage to seek them. You only need the discipline to learn a little each day. You only need the humility to say, I don't know yet, but I will. That word yet is a bridge to the future. It is one of the most powerful words in the language of growth. When you add yet to a limitation, it stops being a wall and becomes a door. And let me tell you something about doors. Daily learning teaches you how to open them. Listen carefully now. The ones who stay awake. When you educate yourself every day, you become flexible instead of rigid. You become ready instead of fearful. You become prepared instead of overwhelmed. And this preparedness gives you courage. Courage, my friend, is not the absence of fear. Courage is the strength to move forward despite fear. And daily education builds that strength. It gives you the inner assurance that you can handle new situations, new responsibilities, new dreams. Because your mind has been trained, your discipline has been shaped, your spirit has been fed. Knowledge gives you courage because it gives you understanding, and understanding reduces fear. Let me take you even deeper. When you educate yourself every day, you also build emotional wisdom. Emotional wisdom is the ability to understand your feelings and the feelings of others. It is the ability to stay centered when emotions rise, to communicate with clarity, to build stronger relationships, to avoid unnecessary conflict. And this kind of wisdom doesn't come from age. It comes from learning, from observing, from reflecting, from paying attention to the lessons life offers every day. Listen carefully to this. Education is not only in books or videos. Education is in experiences. Education is in conversations. Education is in mistakes. Education is in quiet moments of reflection. The world is a living classroom, and every day it is teaching you something, if you pay attention. And my friend, paying attention is a skill you develop through daily learning. When you train your mind to absorb knowledge, you become more aware, more observant, more sensitive to the subtle lessons around you. You begin to notice things, patterns, behaviors, opportunities that you once ignored. This awareness enriches your life in ways you cannot imagine. Let me tell you something that touches the heart. When you educate yourself every day, you also strengthen your dreams. Dreams are fragile at first. They need protection. They need clarity. They need guidance. And education gives you that guidance. It teaches you how to plan, how to adapt, how to persist, how to execute. It gives you the tools to turn your dreams into reality. Without education, dreams remain fantasies. With education, dreams become blueprints. My friend, listen closely. There will come a day when you look back at the person you were before you committed to daily learning, and you will barely recognize them. Not because they were weak, but because they were incomplete. You will see how much you have grown, how many layers you have added to yourself, how many limitations you have broken through. And you will feel gratitude, not just for the lessons you learned, but for the version of yourself who chose to learn them. Let me tell you one last truth as we approach the closing stretch. Learning is not the goal of life. Growth is. Wisdom is. Fulfillment is. But learning is the path that leads to all of these. Daily education is the quiet engine that powers a meaningful life. It keeps your mind sharp, your heart open, your spirit strong, and your future bright. My friend, you are capable of extraordinary growth. You are capable of wisdom, strength, clarity, and transformation beyond anything you've imagined. And all it takes is a simple, powerful commitment. Educate yourself every day. Let learning be your companion. Let curiosity be your guide. Let wisdom be your reward. And as you walk forward from this moment, remember this: every day holds a lesson. Every moment holds insight. Every challenge holds guidance. And every small act of learning becomes part of the great masterpiece of who you are becoming. You try to speak, but your mind freezes. You know the words, you've studied for years, but when the time comes to talk, you can't think in English.